I was asked to decorate the office for the holiday party. Then found out they had a secret Slack channel called Elfa where they mocked everything I did. I printed it all, decorated the party with it, taped screenshots to every wall, every table, every gift bag. The room went silent. But the real surprise was in the final present, labeled, "I've always been the nice one at work." Not the loudest, not the smartest, not the one who fights for raises or attention, but dependable.
Kind. Easy.
The one who always remembers birthdays, helps clean up after meetings, brings in cookies just because. I'm not trying to be a saint, I think I just wanted to be liked. Or maybe needed to feel useful because God knows I wasn't being seen for much else.
6 years in that company.
Survived 2 reorgs. Got passed up twice for promotions I trained people into. My ideas got used, but someone else's name went on the deck. I let it go. I always let it go. So when my manager asked me to lead the holiday decorating, I said yes immediately. I wasn't even asked to plan the whole party, just the environment. She said I had a good eye and people love what you do with the office space. It felt like a compliment. It felt like someone noticed. That was enough for me. We didn't have much of a budget. Just $300 from petty cash and whatever was left over from last year. But I went all in anyway. I started sketching ideas during lunch breaks. I went to thrift stores for old candle holders. I hand-cut paper snowflakes, painted fake fireplace logs, even borrowed a snow machine for my cousin's DJ setup. I thought it would be fun. Some nights I stayed past 9 p.m., sitting on the floor of the storage closet stringing garlands. No one else offered to help, but I didn't mind. I felt proud, like I was finally contributing something people would remember. I imagined coworkers walking into the decorated room and being genuinely impressed. Maybe finally seeing me as more than just the one who proofreads the slides and brings the good snacks to meetings. The party was set for a Friday evening. On Wednesday afternoon, I was alone in the big conference room gluing tiny pine cones to candle wreaths when I remembered I needed an old version of the floor plan we used for last year's party. The files were stored on a shared drive, and I didn't have access. The guy who helped with logistics last year, Matt, sat 2 desks down. He had the files. He also wasn't at his desk, but his screen was still on. I didn't mean to snoop. I really didn't. I just went to grab the floor plan from the network folder. That's when a Slack message popped up in the corner of his screen. #ElfaSlave. She's back in a room with the damn pine cones again. Someone stop her before she builds a glitter altar. I froze. The channel name. The message. I stared for a full minute. I clicked it. The channel was private. 14 members. Most of them mid to senior level. A few junior people trying to fit in. The kind of employees who know how to laugh in the right places, stay invisible to upper management, and play both sides. I recognized all of them.
Some had eaten lunch with me that week.
I didn't know how long the channel had been active, but it was full. Photo after photo of me decorating. Taken without my knowledge. Behind my back. Angles where I'm hunched over a table or carrying boxes. One caption read, "Elfa's slave still thinks this is a Hallmark movie. Poor thing." Another, "Can someone tell her this isn't her wedding?" They mocked everything. The colors I chose. The way I wrapped presents. My handwriting on the name tags. One thread debated whether I had a weird crush on the holidays or just no real friends outside of work. They voted with emojis. I didn't know what I was feeling. It wasn't just anger, it was something slower, deeper. Like standing outside your own house and realizing everyone inside's been talking about you all along. And you were the last to know. I took screenshots. Not just 1 or 2. I scrolled all the way back and captured everything. Every emoji reaction. Every image. Every comment. I didn't cry. I didn't confront. I just went back to my desk, plugged in my personal drive, and started printing. I used the office printer after hours in color. It took over 80 sheets. The next day, Thursday, I stayed late again. Told everyone I needed time to finish decorating. Security nodded. They'd seen me there late all week. What they didn't know is I had a box full of printed screenshots and a roll of Scotch tape. I didn't just tack them up randomly. I arranged them carefully. The Pinterest single mom comment? I framed it and put it above the bar. The edited photo of me in the elf costume? I blew it up and placed it on the dessert table. The poll about whether I was needy or sad? That one got a place of honor by the photo booth. The worst thread, the one where they joked about me being the unpaid party planner who probably thinks this is her big moment, I cut into pieces and tucked it inside the gift bags like tissue paper. It was clean, quiet, no big announcement, no dramatic speech. Then came the present. I wrapped a box with one single screenshot inside. The one that hurt the most. Someone wrote, "Why does she try so hard? No one here cares about her." I wrapped it in shiny gold paper. Wrote, "Open me last, smiley face," on the tag.
Put a bow on it.
Placed it right under the big tree. Friday came. The party started at 5 p.m. There were drinks, music, laughter at first. Then someone noticed the walls. Then the tables. Then the gift bags. One by one, people realized what they were looking at. The screenshots. Their usernames. Their words. Out in the open. Someone tried to pull a few down, but I'd laminated and double-taped them. Others just stood there. One guy tried to make a joke, but no one laughed. A few people left. My manager didn't say a word. Just stared at the bar, where her own words were displayed. The room went from noise to absolute silence in minutes. No one opened the final present. So I did. Right at 6:45 p.m., I walked to the tree, picked it up, held it up in front of them, and opened it slowly. Pulled out the screenshot, unfolded it, and held it where everyone could read. Then I left. Didn't say a single word. But what happened the next week? That was the part they didn't see coming. I didn't go in on Monday. I didn't call in sick either. I just didn't show up. No email, no message. Nothing. I knew the HR policy front to back. I helped proofread the damn handbook 2 years ago. One no-show day wasn't enough to get written up, especially with my record. And I knew something was happening behind those glass office walls, something big. I wanted them to stew in it. Tuesday morning, I went in like nothing happened. Walked in with a coffee.
Sat down.
Opened my laptop. The entire office was quiet in a weird, unnatural way. No one made eye contact. 2 people near me actually got up and moved the second I walked in. I acted like I didn't notice. 10 minutes later, I got an email from HR, subject line, "Meeting request, 10:30 a.m. today." I clicked it. 2 names CC'd, the HR director and my manager.
Fine.
I went. They didn't waste time. They asked if I was the one who posted confidential internal communications at the company event. I said no. I didn't post anything. I decorated. My manager started to speak, but I interrupted her.
Calm.
Even. I asked if mocking and photographing coworkers without their consent was part of our corporate values. I asked if HR had been aware of the Slack channel named #ElfaSlave before the screenshots went up. And I asked if they planned on investigating the bullying documented in over 80 pages of chat history. Dead silence. The HR director shifted, then said they would need to review the situation more thoroughly and get back to me. I stood up and told them I would be working remotely until they did. Then I walked out. That afternoon, I sent an anonymous package to the company's legal compliance officer. In it, a USB with every Slack message from the channel, a printed timeline of who posted what and when, a list of all company policies on workplace harassment and conduct, and a letter, signed anonymously, suggesting they ask why the person being harassed was being called in for meetings while the harassers were still at their desks. I didn't sign my name. I didn't have to. By Wednesday, the Slack channel was deleted. By Thursday, 2 people were suddenly on leave. By Friday, someone from IT leaked that 5 employees had been locked out of their company accounts. The office didn't know I'd sent anything. They thought I'd just embarrassed them at a party and walked away. But I wasn't done. The second twist came the following week. Someone slid a note under my apartment door. No envelope. Just a folded sheet of printer paper. It said, "You need to stop. People are going to lose their jobs." That was it. No name. No signature. But I recognized the handwriting. I'd seen it on birthday cards, on meeting whiteboards. It was Carly. Carly sat next to me for 4 years. We'd shared playlists, stupid inside jokes, even rode the same train home more than once. She was in the channel. She'd posted 3 screenshots and laughed at plenty more. I hadn't even included her worst ones in the decorations. I thought maybe she'd just been trying to fit in. That note, that was her picking a side. So I did too. I compiled everything I had. I knew who had posted. I knew who hadn't. I knew the ones who laughed but stayed silent, and the ones who went out of their way to be cruel. I also knew one of them, Matt, the guy whose screen I first saw the Slack channel on, was up for a major client-facing promotion. I sent a second anonymous letter. This one went to the client, along with photos of the screenshots involving Matt, where he joked about me being the emotional support elf, and another where he said, "She's got no life, might as well let her decorate and feel important." I didn't even have to wait long. That client pulled out of their contract the following week. Multi-year, multi-six figures.
Gone.
Matt didn't get the promotion. Matt got laid off. But the fallout didn't stop there. Someone else decided to fight back. That Monday, I got a formal warning letter from HR. They said I had violated company decorum by creating a hostile environment at a company-sponsored event. They didn't use the word retaliation, but they didn't have to. I knew what this was. It was damage control. They were trying to balance the scales, make it look like everyone was wrong so no one could sue. Classic HR move. Equal guilt equals no liability. So I lawyered up. And that's when everything really started falling apart. I didn't tell anyone at work I got a lawyer. I didn't post about it, didn't hint at it, didn't even mention it to the 1 or 2 people who hadn't been in the Slack channel and had reached out to check in. I didn't trust any of them. Not after what I saw. Politeness meant nothing anymore. I was done playing nice. The lawyer wasn't flashy. He didn't talk like he was in a courtroom drama. He just listened, took notes, asked for copies of everything, screenshots, emails, the formal warning letter. I gave him everything, organized by date. He called me back 2 days later and said quietly, "You're sitting on a hostile work environment case, and possibly a retaliation claim." Then he asked if I wanted to play it public or quiet. I told him I wanted control. He said then we'd keep it quiet.
For now.
Meanwhile, back at work, the mood had turned icy. Half the people weren't talking to me. The other half were being overly fake nice. HR had gone silent after the warning letter. Nobody had addressed the Slack channel publicly. Not in meetings. Not in all staff emails. They were pretending nothing happened, which meant they were afraid. That's when the third twist hit. A junior designer, Marcy, asked if we could talk in private. I didn't trust her at first, but we went to a cafe off-site. She looked nervous.
Pale.
She had tears in her eyes before we even sat down. She told me there was another channel. #Trash Tuesdays. That one wasn't just about me. It was about everyone. Each Tuesday, someone would post a coworker's name, and the rest of the group would pile on. Anonymous tips, inside jokes, mocking outfits, speech patterns, people's families. It had been going on for months, maybe over a year. She showed me her phone. Screenshots she'd saved in case something ever got out of hand. Some of them were disgusting. One comment about a coworker's autistic son. Another where someone mocked a woman's miscarriage like it was a punchline. They used real names, photos, sometimes even forwarded private DMs. And at the center of it all, my manager, the one who asked me to decorate the holiday party in the first place. She was one of the most active members. That was why the company was covering things up. This wasn't just about me anymore. They weren't protecting the guilty, they were protecting themselves. I thanked Marcy, asked for copies, and left. My lawyer nearly dropped the phone when I sent him the new screenshots. He told me we had enough for a coordinated employee harassment and defamation case if we chose to escalate it. Then he asked something I hadn't thought about. How many of your coworkers do you think have no idea they were being talked about like this? That stopped me cold, because the answer was almost all of them. The party decorations had exposed one secret. But this This was rot under the floorboards. I didn't know what to do. I sat on it for a few days. Couldn't sleep. I thought about the woman they mocked for taking leave after her miscarriage. The guy with the autistic son. The temp they said smelled like failure. They were never supposed to see these messages. None of us were. But I had the power to make sure they did. I made a burner email account. I wrote one email, attached the screenshots, sent it to 25 people across departments. One sentence in the body, "This is what they say about you when you're not in the room." Then I shut the laptop and waited. It didn't take long. The office exploded. Some people stormed into HR demanding answers. Others started crying at their desks. One woman quit on the spot. A guy from the dev team threw his monitor into the recycling bin and walked out. I got another meeting request from HR, but I ignored it. This time, they were chasing me. I was holding the match, and they'd finally noticed the building was on fire. By the end of that week, the office was split down the middle. There were the ones who knew, who'd seen their names in those Tuesday posts, who finally understood why they'd been overlooked, left out, or quietly mocked for things they couldn't name before. And then there were the ones who stayed quiet. The ones who had seen the posts too but had laughed. Or worse, participated. People were avoiding each other. Half the teams weren't speaking. Managers were pulled into meetings with legal. Projects stalled. Clients noticed. And still, nothing official came from leadership. No acknowledgement. No apology. No explanation. That silence? It made things worse. One afternoon, I saw Carly, the one who'd slipped the warning note under my door, sitting alone in the break room. She looked pale and hollow, like she hadn't slept in days. Our eyes met. She didn't say a word. But later that day, she sent me a message. "You were right. I knew it was wrong. I was just scared." I didn't reply. I wasn't interested in her guilt. Not now. The next week, my lawyer and I submitted a formal letter of intent. We were preparing to file a claim for workplace harassment, targeted defamation, and retaliation. We didn't go public with it. We gave the company time to respond. And that's when they made their biggest mistake. They fired me. The email came on a Friday afternoon. HR cited disruptive behavior during a company-sponsored event, unauthorized distribution of internal communications, and creating a hostile work environment. They padded it with legal phrases, but it was clear. I was being punished for exposing them. My lawyer laughed when he saw it. He told me, "This just went from internal settlement to open court. They just handed you the rest of the case." The day after I was fired, I posted a simple message on LinkedIn. No drama. No naming names. Just, after 6 years of dedication to a company I believed in, I was terminated after exposing months of internal harassment and bullying. I stood up for myself. For others. I don't regret it. And I'm not done yet. Within hours, it was viral. People started connecting dots. Industry folks began messaging me privately. Some were ex-employees from my company. One said they had left last year because of the mean girl culture and had filed a quiet complaint. Another said their resignation was directly tied to that exact Slack channel. They'd seen the same names involved, the same toxic jokes. Then someone forwarded me a Glassdoor review, dated 9 months ago. Great pay. Cutthroat team. Don't trust the smiles. The jokes aren't jokes if you're the target. I read it 3 times. They'd been doing this for years. And now, the press was reaching out. Business blogs. Workplace culture podcasts. Journalists. I hadn't even spoken publicly, but word had leaked, probably from someone inside the company. A mid-level staffer who quit that week posted an anonymous AMA on Reddit. She detailed what she saw. The Slack messages. The decorations. The retaliation. It blew up. Hashtag Elfgate started trending on Twitter. I hated the name, but it stuck. Suddenly, the company couldn't stay silent anymore. They issued a carefully worded public statement. Said they were reviewing internal communication channels, reevaluating their workplace culture, and taking swift disciplinary action. No apology. No admission of guilt. Just cold PR speak. But the damage was already done. They were bleeding employees. 2 clients left. Investors started asking questions. And then, quietly, I got an email from a name I hadn't heard in years. Reena Patel. She was my old mentor, long gone from the company. One of the only leaders who ever treated me with real respect. Her message was simple. I heard what they did to you. If you're planning anything bigger, I want in. That was when I realized this wasn't just about decorations, or Slack messages, or even me. This was about how they built an entire culture on cruelty, laughed behind closed doors, and punished anyone who didn't play along. They weren't scared of me printing screenshots, but they were terrified of what I was about to do next. 3 weeks after they fired me, we filed the lawsuit. It wasn't just for harassment anymore. We added wrongful termination, retaliation, and emotional distress. With the help of 2 former employees, one from IT, one from marketing, we included records that went back over a year. Slack logs, emails, notes from old HR complaints that had been buried. The kind of things companies hope disappear when people leave. But this time they didn't. The lawsuit named 9 employees directly, including my former manager, including 2 senior executives who had posted in both the hashtag #ElfaSlave and hashtag #TrashTuesdays channels. We included screenshots of the worst things they said. Every one of them had their real name attached to those messages. My lawyer was clear. This wouldn't settle quietly unless they begged. But I didn't wait for court to make things right. I published my full story. I posted it on LinkedIn, then Medium, and then Reddit. Not with anger, just facts.
Dates.
Names. Screenshots. The whole truth. I blurred out names of people who stayed quiet, who never joined in the bullying, even when they stayed silent. But for the rest, I left everything in. It spread like fire. By the end of that week, the CEO had to step down. 2 board members resigned quietly. One of the main guys who had laughed about my pathetic little pine cones was featured in a viral TikTok where someone read his Slack posts out loud in front of his new office. He quit the next day. And the woman who sent the note under my door, Carly, she emailed me a long apology. I never responded, but I didn't include her name in anything public. She was weak, but not cruel. That distinction mattered to me. The company tried to offer a settlement when media started circling again. 7 figures. My lawyer told me most people would take it and disappear. I told him no. I wanted something else. We rewrote the offer. Full public apology, signed by all 9 employees named in the Slack channels. My entire lawsuit posted on the company's internal HR portal as required reading for all managers. A formal review of every HR complaint filed in the last 3 years with a third-party auditor. And me brought in, publicly, as a paid consultant to lead the culture review. Not forever. Just once. 1 meeting. In person. Where they had to sit across from me and answer for what they built. They agreed. That meeting? It was in the same room where I had glued the pine cones. Same table. Same spot where they laughed about me behind my back. I sat down. I looked at them. Some couldn't meet my eyes.
I didn't yell.
I didn't cry. I read from my notes. Line by line. I told them what their jokes had cost me. The nights I lost sleep. The way I started second-guessing everything I said, did. I told them about how it made me feel like a ghost in the place I had given 6 years of my life to. Then I read their words back to them.
Aloud. Slowly.
Like I was reading a poem. No one spoke. Not even my old manager, who now looked like she hadn't slept in weeks. I read her words twice. When I was done, I stood up, said thank you, and walked out. That was the last time I ever stepped foot in that office. 6 months later, I started my own agency. Small team. Clear values. No hidden channels. The day we opened, I hung a gold-painted pine cone above the door. Just one. Quiet. Simple. Solid. A reminder. Not of them. Of me. And what happens when the quiet one finally stops forgiving?